Yeah, so thank you for having me here tonight, guys. I'm so honored to be here at the launch of your book, Marvin. I was going to talk a little bit about a world that a lot of people don't know unless you are a librarian. We have a couple. In big city libraries, you have people, what do you equate it with? What? What do you think of when you think of a library? Books, right? Yeah, I know. So it's funny because I'm always like, it's not just books, it's not just books. But there are a lot of books. In San Jose alone, we have, does anybody know how many books we have in our collection?
Thousands.
We have 2 million physical items, and then there are millions of electronic items and digital items. So just huge amounts of stories to share. And when I think about the importance of libraries, what drew me to libraries, I actually started in academia. I was studying literature. I grew up loving books. I hadn't really explored libraries really, but I grew up loving books. And the thing that I love about books, and that I think probably all you do as well as book lovers, is that when you experience a story in a book, it allows you to experience somebody else's narrative, right? It allows you to think about what it would be like to be somewhere else or to be someone else. But what really is important about that experience is that it teaches you something about your own reaction to that, or your own thoughts about that, or how you feel about that. It teaches you about yourself. So it orients you back in your own self and helps you learn a little something. And what's so special to me about public libraries and what brought me to them is that then when you have a whole community of books, of sharing stories, you have this ability to learn about each other, to bring the community together through stories and through shared narrative. One of the goals that we have at the public library is to really preserve and cultivate the cultural narrative of our community. So, what does that mean? It means people come from all over the place. And one of the beautiful things about books is that, and especially the sort of the explosion of the publishing industry globally, right? Is that you can get books about anybody from anywhere, and you can have that experience, and it's amazing. But what's potentially lost in the, I've been a librarian for 25 years, believe it or not. You're all supposed to be shocked.
We are. She's a time traveler too.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Okay, but in 25 years, the change and the amazing access to books now is wonderful. It's wonderful for libraries. We can get stuff from anywhere for our community. But what's potentially lost is you start to have this kind of large publishing industry genericism. It's a word I just made up. You get this kind of sameness, right? There are beautiful books, but there's a lot of sameness in there. And so what we're really trying to cultivate is the micro publishers, the small publishers that are identifying unique voices in specific communities that tell those stories. Because a public library needs to represent everybody, but if a public library doesn't represent the community it serves, we're not being a public library, right? So I think that the specialness of the voices that we have here in San Jose is one of the reasons why I love events like this. I'm so glad to be here. I was at an event a couple weeks ago that was local African American authors. Just bringing folks together so that we can add these titles to our collection. And I did want to tell you that we're adding all your titles to our collection. I was hoping they'd be in there today, but one of the things about small publishers is when you buy them, you have to do the unique cataloging. So that's all librarian nerdy stuff, but it takes a little bit longer. But we will get them into the collection. So anyway, I think that the importance of the voices of our community cannot be overstated. I also wanted to just talk a little bit about Marvin's unique voice. Some of you know, again, at the library, we represent all parts of our community. Before coming to San Jose, I was actually in San Francisco for many years at the library there. And in the Bay Area, we have a really strong LGBTQI, everything community. And our library certainly represents that. A few months ago, I think it was, we had a program planned that was a story time featuring performers in drag. And for my staff, this was just one more voice. This is one more, especially because little kids love dress up, right? So, at the little kid level, that's what it is. But this was one more way in which people, I think it's important for communities who are seeking a certain type of representation can see their authentic self represented in a positive way, right? So for us, it was no different than every other day. But for some folks, it became a very political thing very quickly. And it was actually very surprising to me as a librarian in the Bay Area to have such a voice come forward that represented a lot of fear, some ignorance, some unawareness of what the program really was, and it gave us an opportunity to talk about it. So even in the Bay Area, what it reminded me is that it's incredibly important to tell stories about all of our communities, to provide positive stories and representations of all of our communities, because we can't take it for granted that those representations are out there. We can't take it for granted that understanding is there. And the most important thing, and the reason I'm a librarian, is that the stories breed understanding. Sharing stories, we always say the library is really a collection of ideas that the community shares. And so that sharing makes us stronger as a community. It makes us understand each other. And hopefully it makes us all get along and be wonderful in the future. And so I just want to thank you for having me here tonight. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all come to the library and check out all of the books once they're in there. And I hope you have a wonderful night. And so do I get to introduce?
Yes, you do.
Okay, it's my great privilege to introduce our author this evening, Marvin Pugh.
So I see people hiding out there. You guys can come in. So I don't have it all memorized, and unfortunately I'm good at making stuff up in a book, but if I start talking off the cuff, I will be lost. So I have my notes, which I know, Greg and everybody, I'm not supposed to talk off of notes, but I'm still going to. So I hope you will all indulge me. So I want to thank Jill so much for that wonderful introduction, and very excited I'll have to go to the library now and check out my books. just because it's like somebody will be checking these library books out. It may only be me, but hey, we're still going to do it. So thank you so much. It's hard to believe that a little over a year ago, I was in this exact same room talking about the calling to many of you who were here last time, and to a bunch of you who weren't. So it's just such a thrill to be back here tonight. So it's just great, and I really want to take a minute and just thank everybody who's made this possible. It's really. Can I say it's really anymore? Probably not. The editor will kill me, but so I do want to take some time to thank all the different people. So if you haven't met my husband Eric, he's right over there. He is the sanity to my insanity. So he will confirm that middle of the night I wake up, I go and type, I go and write. The voices in my head are talking to me. They're not Meg and Greggy, they're other people. So he really deserves a Medal of Honor for having to tolerate me and to deal with all my craziness. So I really would not be here without him. And as all of you know, I have said it many times, not only is he my biggest cheerleader, but he is also my harshest critic, which makes it really good because I know that everything he says, even if it takes me a little bit to recover, is all said from a place of love and support and just really wanting to show me in the best possible light. So the other group of my cheerleading squad is, if you haven't met him, my dad, Marvin. Yes, that's true, he is. He's been cheerleading, gosh, since I've been alive. And I know that there are several of you who have been wondering about the sequel to The Calling. None of you have been wondering as much as my father, who happens to live with us. So every day I get, so is it done? Can I read it? Is it done? Is it ready? Is it ready? It's like, no, Dad, stop asking me.
It's your fault.
Oh, yeah.
You made to have it.
When do you write is what I want to know.
How or when?
When?
Weekends,
With all your work and
3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I try and cut out some time on the weekends, so like if we're not doing anything, I'll write on the weekends and stuff like that, or I'll get up really early and write. So yeah, so that's when I do that. That's why it's taken a long time to get some of these out there. The other members of my family who I really want to say a special shout out to, even though we're having problems with the live stream, is my sister and my niece, Brienne. They live out of state. And why it's important to me to make sure that this is recorded, and there's, some of you know, some of you don't know, my sister's fighting terminal cancer. And I know that when we went out and saw her this past summer, I took her a copy of the book, and once she got done crying, we were laughing, and she was like so excited. So, you know, there will be another trip, and she will be getting another copy of the book. So this is really important that I let her know that I am thinking of her tonight, as well as my niece and her husband, who are all in Colorado. My other nephew and his wife were supposed to be here. They're probably running late. Ryan and Stephanie, they have also been, you know, kind of on the bandwagon of, and when's the next one coming out? And when's the next one coming out? So, you know, so that's my family who have been after me, both supporting me and kind of cracking the whip per se. So I just couldn't do it without any of them. Then there's some extended family who, you know, I've kind of adopted. Whether or not they've adopted me is a totally other story, because, you know, it's kind of a 50-50 mix. Eric's family, who live in the area. I don't know if they're here, but they're supposed to.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Hey guys. You know, they've been really supportive, and they're just amazing people, and I'm very happy to have them in my life as well. Thank you again to Con and David for having me here. I'm surprised you guys haven't agreed to do it, so thank you. You know, thank you again to the party helpers. They have done an amazing job with the food, so I hope you all got to eat some. If not, there's still some there, so please make your ways over there. You can ignore me, that's fine, but because the food is amazing. And for those of you that read The Calling, you will all know that Juliet loves the party helpers, and Juliet is one of the main characters in the book. And so, you know, she won't use anybody else. There's just not another option. So I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. The next one is kind of this mixed bag. So if you look around this room, there's family, there's friends, there's coworkers, and you are all my family. You have all supported me. You've all been there. You have dealt with the silliness, the craziness, the ups and downs and highs and lows, and really none of this would be possible without any of you. So thank you all again. Because, like I said, you are my extension of my family, and I do love you all very much, and I appreciate all of you, even if it doesn't always seem like it. So, there she is. I see her hiding. So, as much as you all have supported me, as much as Eric has supported me, there's one individual who has been a driving force, and I'm glad that she made it tonight, and that's my buddy Linda. Linda Pippin. She has kicked my butt in more ways than one. She's like, you need to do this. You need to do it, you need to do it, you need to do it, and I'm gonna help. And I was like, okay, let's see how this works. And 4 books later, 2 more books coming, here we are. So Linda, thank you so much. Okay, I think I have thanked everybody, and I think we're all good. So let's talk a little bit about my new book, Contact a New World.